Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Chronicles by Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Today with us is Mr. Aashish Sethi, the head of Travel and Health SBU at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Hiren. I'm delighted to be on this platform and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for giving us the opportunity to speak to you.
My pleasure.
So, going back to the very start, I wanted to ask you, what has been your academic experience? How has your schooling life been? Because we are at a time where schools are just about to start. So, I would like to start with how you started your journey.
Well, I did my initial schooling in Kolkata and then I moved into a hostel and I've been a hosteler right through my scholastic years thereafter. The primary years were spent in Ooty in a hostel, which was a J. Krishnamurthy Foundation School. So it was an alternative learning school. And then thereafter, I did my college in Manipal and my master's in Gurgaon.
Oh, you've traveled quite a bit. And hearing the experience, was a lot of it in hostels and were you away from home for long periods of time?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I had to adjust to getting back to home for the couple of years that I was over there. I was so used to hostel life that it was the reverse for me.
So, was there something in that hostel life that taught you? Because recently I've had an experience of living from home for the first time.
Yeah.
So it has taught me a couple of things, like how from how to do your own laundry, how to cook.
Yeah.
So, is there something special that your hostel life taught you?
Well, it was a very interesting hostel life, I must say, because, like I said, it was an alternative school and it was not the regimental type of school that you see, the stereotype ones. So, we had a lot of liberties in choosing the subjects we wanted to study, the kind of, forum we wanted to sort of attend. Apart from that, I think what it really taught us was to be independent yet collaborative. So you need to just stand on your own 2 feet and yet collaborate with others. Otherwise, living in a hostel would become extremely difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember an incident when I was studying, out of home, and this was the time of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a week where I had to isolate myself because I had caught COVID,
Right.
and I was in a hostel. So it was my friends who took care of me, who left food outside, outside my door, who left my lunches, and that is something where what you said about collaboration.
Yeah.
It is not just collaboration to live, but it's sometimes collaboration to survive as well.
Right.
And I've heard something interesting. That is that you've actually studied hospitality management. Sorry.
That's right.
So from hospitality management to insurance, what was this journey and how did that change of luck happen?
So I joined ITC as a management trainee, and it's a 2-year embedded program. And then thereafter, I spent 8 years with the company. And on the anvil of the privatization of the insurance industry around 2000, one of the companies on the life space connected with me, and they were looking at people who had institutional experience, and they were willing to sort of experiment with that and embed the insurance knowledge by tutoring us, sending us for various programs, exposing us globally. And I would credit that organization for sort of holding us to that process. I think the call was more on my side to sort of look at the transition, because ITC is a wonderful company and it's very difficult to extract yourself from an organization of such repute. But I've always been a risk taker and I've always wanted to challenge myself, and financial services is one field that I wanted to sort of test myself in, and therefore I leapfrogged into it.
And there's something about hospitality management. I've heard that the amount of patience and hard work that requires teaches you a lot, for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And I do myself have someone who works in the hospitality business, and they're like, it's a 24/7 job sort of. But insurance also. I've seen that you worked at several other companies before you joined Bajaj.
Right.
And handling health at Bajaj, how has that been? Because it is such an integral part of insurance.
Right.
But after the pandemic, people have understood it's a very, very important part of the life itself. So how has it been being, the most responsible person for the most important thing sort of in the organization from a perspective?
Well, firstly, I've had about a decade's experience in the health insurance business. So I come with some industry knowledge around the space that we're dealing with right now. But converse to what people believe, Bajaj is not small in the health insurance space. We are close to $1 billion entity on health, and I don't think we should sort of undermine that. But having said what you said just now, in terms of the opportunity in the landscape in terms of health insurance, it's enormous in this country. We barely have any penetration on the private side. The sovereign schemes are there and they sort of elevate the penetration. But notwithstanding that, there is a huge opportunity for us. And we're excited about this opportunity because there is a transition in terms of technology. People are more conversant with handheld devices. There's attribution towards buying on handheld devices, and therefore you can nuance your products to a younger generation, get them embedded into the health insurance space early, secure their lives, and most importantly secure their savings, because close to 7% of India's population falls below, from above the poverty line to below the poverty line, because of expenses on health. So it's an important facet for everybody's life.
Yeah. And insurance sort of has been something that's been, down the pecking order in your shopping list, like, in a person's shopping list, especially like people like me. I recently turned 26 and my boss told me, because I work in insurance, my boss told me that you should have bought a policy a year ago. Right. Because at 25 a certain, your premium is a little lower, because then you've become older now, which itself was shocking to me. Right. But he told me about the low penetration of health insurance in India as well, and that this statistic that so many people lose their security and savings because someone's sick in the family and they do not have the proper cover. Right. So and definitely, what selling tip sort of would you give, or what would you tell our younger viewers like myself who do not know about insurance, that this is why you need to buy health insurance right now, not when you need it, or not when you're 35, 40, but today is the right time to buy it.
I don't think you should ever sell a product. You should sell an experience. Now, if you are at the age that I am in, you've seen a lot in terms of what's transpired around us, and I think you all have also been exposed to it now because of COVID, and you see the relevance of insurance. So there is an offtake. I think what we need to do is we need to nuance products which are more relevant to the younger generation, and they sort of step into the world of insurance, and they can evolve over a period of time. So, like I said, it's always conversational, experiential, and then you will find people converge towards the idea of buying insurance. If you try to sell a product, then people sort of stay away from it, and then it becomes a harder sell.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Also, so earlier you mentioned that you're a risk taker, and since you do have sort of a youth appeal, I would say. So, any sort of hobbies, I would say, you know what I'm hinting at. Yeah. Any sort of hobbies of risk taking you had from your younger self?
Well, when I was younger, I used to love to bike. I had a Kawasaki Bajaj RTZ 100. So in some sense, this is life coming in a full circle. But I used that bike extensively, did a lot of cross-country riding, some with batchmates of mine and some solo. But that's tapered down over a period of time. I tried to sort of revisit that passion 5 or 6 years ago. I invested in quite a heavy-duty bike. But it lay still in the garage, and I think my wife got more agitated about it lying there, and she just sold it one fine day. So I keep toggling with the idea. I may get back to it at some point in time, but for now I sort of stayed away from it.
And also, having a hobby, having such an incredible job, plus having such an incredible family, right, to balance and manage all of it must have been, another task. And how do you do that? How do you maintain your work-life balance? And I see that you're a little fit as well. Right. So how do you manage to balance all of these things?
Well, work-life balance for me is very clear herein. When I'm at work, I'm only thinking work. And when I'm at home, I'm not thinking work. You need to compartmentalize yourself. Otherwise, you will always be sort of stepping into arenas and not be very comfortable as to where you are at that point in time. So, the point is here very clearly that I have a little bit of advantage right now because I live in Pune alone. So when I'm in Pune, I give my work 150%. And when and if I do get home, which is not as frequent as I would like, but when I'm there, I dedicate my time to the family and spending time with them and doing things that they want to do. On the fitness side, I must be very, transparent here. I have not done much lately, but this is, all the grace of God and the metabolism that I have. But for about a decade, I played squash. And squash is a very aggressive game and very demanding on one's body. And I think the ripple effects of having played for a decade are still there with me, and I'm hoping that sometime I get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like yeah, or any racket sport for that matter is like extremely demanding.
Yeah.
And do you watch tennis? Do you happen to be a tennis fan?
Absolutely.
Who are you banking on? Sorry, for the French Open this time.
So, I've been watching the earlier seasons. I haven't watched this season of the French Open, but on Netflix there was a program on the racket, and Coco Gauff seems to be, emerging star, and she has a lot of grit and determination, and she sort of follows that up with a regime. So I think she's a future star in the making.
Yeah. Talking about future stars, we are coming towards the end of our conversation. So there's something, like since this goes on YouTube, we have a lot of younger viewers watching, people my age or younger. So, is there something like an advice you can give to these guys who are just starting out on their careers? And we actually have behind the cameras, we have our intern today, Arav, who's joined us for the shoot. So something for him, something that he can start doing maybe today to help him 5, 10, 15 years down the line.
Well, I'll just give the same example that I gave my own son. Is two things. One is stay hungry, stay foolish. Keep reading and keep learning. Whatever interests you, but be passionate about reading and learning. And number two is that start investing early. Because the compounding effect of that is tremendous, and we are in a very turbulent world. And going forward, there's a lot that could transpire which one doesn't sort of anticipate, and to fall back on an investment or a cachet of, monetary aspects, will play a big play, and to have that available to you will give you a sense of comfort. And I think starting early is wise.
Yeah, that's great advice, and like this is something that I've heard from a lot of people who have a generational, who have generational knowledge, who have generational wealth of knowledge. That start early and start hungry. Right. That is something that they've also told me. And early to bed, early to rise is something that we've also heard of. That the sooner you start your day, and this is also philosophical terms in terms of investing. That the sooner you start, the bigger heap you will get at the end of the line.
That's right.
So yeah, absolutely, that's great advice, sir. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And it was a great conversation. I'm sure our viewers learned a lot of interesting things about you. And thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you, Hiren. This has been very nice, and it was nice to go back down memory lane. I've not had such a conversation in a long time, and I was delighted to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, viewers, for watching, and stay tuned.